Welcome back to building this park in Rollercoaster 2. Last time we stopped with this path there, we built the entrance area and the parking lot. You can find the video on the info description on the top right of your screen. Today we will build the terrain. We will shape the park, because I always like if the park has a bit of terrain going on. If it's not just flat, you know, that's kind of boring to have in a Rollercoaster park. Most real life parks are pretty flat though, but I like to have like hills and valleys, and did that in my past park as well, and it worked out really well. But this time I want to have it a bit differently. Like this broad structure is still a bit the same. We have the valley in the back and the mountain in the middle. I kept that because it worked so well last time. And one of the advantages of building a valley and mountains is that you can have multiple bridges, and I think bridges are one of those characteristics that make a park unique. You don't really see a lot of bridges in Rollercoaster, and if they're there and well built, that's really some staple piece of the park. You know, it can be like this one thing people may remember about the park. If you have like a good bridge, a viaduct or something. So I had it in the past park, had over 10 bridges in the park, and it's certainly something nice to build even, so it can be fun. So here you can see the mountain, by the way. And yeah, what I wanted to do differently is have a lake. Now first of all I wanted to have it there, but then I remembered that I wanted to have the whole swimming pool area, the whole water park back there. So I thought, you know, a water park with a natural lake added in is a bit better. You know, I like personally to swim in natural waters as well. So having this in this park as well might be really nice. So I added this here. So the plan for this area is to have a lot of water slides. Then I experimented with the different kind of waters, and as you can see, the water is a lot better than in Rollercoaster 1. Because in Rollercoaster 1 it was just a layer of just a texture basically. But now it really feels like water, and you know, it's not as clear as glass. It's not just a layer laying there, it's real water. And then you can see in the background, the first coaster has started construction. Yeah, I thought, you know, why not start with a coaster already? Because I wanted to have a coaster around this mountain. Probably there will be a second one. We will build a second coaster in probably the next episode or the one after, probably. But first of all, this coaster, it's supposed to be a family coaster, family oriented. As a beginner, you know, the general rule, the rule of thumb in parks and real life is that you have the big attractions, which are usually roller coasters, the thrill coasters. You have a hyper coaster and wooden coaster and RMC and everything on the edge of the park. So, you know, if it's in the center, all the people are concentrated in the center and it gets crowded real fast. But if you have all the attractions on the edge, it really controls the movement of people better. So yeah, but since this is a small attraction, I wanted to have it in the center to give some visual interest as well in the center of the park, to have something there. And what I like about it is that it traverses theme areas, you know, like around the mountain. Like since the mountain is the center, all the theme areas will be settled around the mountain. And with this coaster you can see the whole park, which is cool, because if it's the first coaster you ride, which maybe it is, you can see all the other things, and you can be like, oh, I want to do this afterwards and that. And yeah, and from the layout you can see it's a lot of curves and the usual stuff for family coasters, but I wanted it to orient at the mountain. And what I can suggest you is to form the terrain first the terrain and then the roller coaster. It makes it so much more realistic, because in real life you don't build a coaster and then a mountain. You have the mountain and you build your coaster around it, right? And another tip I have, plan in the brake run before you build everything, which you can see me doing here last second. And yeah, it also has 2 lift hills. Yeah, not really unrealistic at all. But I noticed I have a bit of speed, so I weaved in there again. And you can see there are just a lot of tracks here, which I think is super cool. Oh no, never mind. I ended up doing it anyways this way. Okay. Yeah, then with the train tool, I don't like this auto tunnel. I don't want to use it all too much. It's pretty obnoxious the way it looks. I don't like it. So yeah, I usually just build it and then later on come in with the terrain tool and shove the train out of the way. Here you can see me using it because I knew that there must be a tunnel here. Yeah. And then another problem I had, the restriction on the track is in the base game it's just there, which I don't understand. Like, come on, like I gotta go in the settings just to build the coaster I want. Like the drop limit here is 30 degrees. What should I do with 30 degrees? Like I wanna have, like here I needed to have a steeper drop to that people don't get decapitated on the ride, which would be very unfortunate, but certainly funny. So yeah, you can just go to the settings. It's in ride settings, and so you press escape, go to Sandbox settings, and then ride settings, and there you can see it there and disable it. It's better. Because, you know, you could build anything in anything, which is one of my criticisms with the coaster system in the game. Like there is one coaster type which has switch tracks, which has fall tracks, with it even has shake tracks. You know, it has everything, and it's such a cool thing. And they don't give it to us in every coaster. It's just that one coaster type. Why? I just don't understand why. Just give it to us on every coaster type. Would be so much cooler. Imagine here we could go into a mountain and have a fall track, but no. Just because I chose this family coaster here. It's so sad because, you know, real life coasters, they sometimes have switch tracks on really fast paced coasters that we can still have in the game. I hope they add this in. Yeah, but still. So I just built this coaster without that in mind. It still turned out well, and yeah, when we're on the negatives, I also have to say the positives. The smoothing tool is a dream. It's an absolute dream. You can smooth a coaster in 5 minutes, done. In Planet Coaster 1, I remember with some coasters that I wanted to get perfect, I spent like 3, 4, 5 hours just smoothing, you know, selecting 4 meters, then press smooth. And one further, and smooth, and one further, and smooth. Oh god, it took forever just to smooth one coaster. And then the smoothing tool horribly deformed the track, which you can see here a little bit, but it's way better. And the coaster is already smooth, and the form of the track is still there. Because in Planet Coaster 1, if you smooth the coaster, suddenly the track will get very... I always called it uncharacteristic. It's very... over smooth, you know, every turn was very liquid, and it turned into the other turn without really any intensity. But here it isn't, you know, you still have the sharpness of the turn, but smooth. And in Planet Coaster 1, you just had smoothness and all the sharpness was gone and everything was a giant blob, and I hated it. And even after 4, 5, 6 hours of smoothing, whatever, it wasn't smooth. Never in Planet Coaster 1. And here, after 5 minutes, it's perfect. It's just what I wanted. So it's insane. That's one of the best things they improved upon Planet Coaster 1. One of the most major things. So then, what you can see me doing here is adding a bit of terrain, just to give a plaza there. And then adding in this slope for the path. And the pathing system is so much better now. Like previously you spent like 10-15 minutes and just smoothing the terrain that the path can go there, and usually it just had a problem with you placing the path because the terrain was too steep, even if the terrain wasn't steep. And here you can see it just automatically corrects the terrain appropriate, which is great. So then I thought I will have a plaza here. So the plan for this theme area here was originally, and maybe it still is, but I haven't continued on it so far, to have a castle area, which would be cool as a centerpiece of the park, having a castle, but it's also very Disney-like, so I don't know if I will continue that. But I know, medieval night setting That would be really cool. But yeah, maybe I will turn it into like a dragon theme, which would be also very nice. I don't know yet. Okay, you could leave suggestions down below. What should be here? Yeah, but maybe not a very obnoxious theme, because I want a very loud and outstanding and original themes somewhere else in the park, on with the bigger rides. So this one should really have a bit of a basic theme, you know, maybe Wild West Village or something. Who knows? You can leave a suggestion. And then I noticed that this plaza is way too huge. It's just a giant blob of concrete something, and it didn't look good. And what I still ask myself, how can I remove path? Like, how can I make a hole into this path? I don't know how that works, and haven't found it out till now. Which I tried to do there, you see? So you can only add a patch of different colored path, which is already great, but at the end I had to redo the whole path here, and yeah, wasn't that great. And you can see it's raining forever, which is interesting to have weather now, which previously we didn't have. But yeah, you see you can break up a plaza with those patches of different colored paths, but at the end I wanted to have plants in there. So yeah, I did it in a very strange way, as you can see here. And what I've completely forgot about is to plan in a queue for the ride, which later on I just do a queue that's, you know, very, not the way I want it, it's just contemporary. It shouldn't stay that way, because now that I think about it, it would be very nice to have a queue that starts, you know, down below and goes through the mountain and ends up in the ride, and we can have like a mine shaft or something with like a dragon in it. That would be very cool. Yeah, we should definitely do that. Now that the lighting effects are better, it would be a missed opportunity to not do that. So definitely do that. And by the way, next episode we will build a building. Like, now we will build a building as well, but next episode we will build a better building, the entrance building, or we will start building the entrance building to be correct, because we will not have finished it until this day is not finished. So yeah, but I wanted to turn it into a tutorial, and maybe you're interested in that. You know, how to build a building, how to plan out buildings, how to make a whole assembly of buildings look nice. Because I always struggled with buildings in Planet Coaster. I guess they're one of the harder things, because theming nature doesn't really need things to be perfect, right? You can have all different kinds of stones everywhere, nobody cares. But with a building, you really need to nail the look of the building, the theme you're going with. You build a castle, like, that needs to look like a castle. Oh, and then I had this idea here of housing this slide into a castle tower, which I still want to do, but I horribly failed here. Just because those stones aren't scalable small enough. I need to build it with different stones. And I saw people on YouTube lately just building the craziest skins for this ride, which is insane, and it's a cool ride to have in the game. But as it is here, it doesn't fit in the theme. So yeah, I wanted to have a medieval tower kind of to house it a little bit. But yeah, I need to come here with better building techniques, because this wasn't it. And you can see me failing here spectacularly at the end. I think in this episode I still let it there, I'm not sure, but yeah, maybe I already saw that it's terrible. Yeah, then connecting up the path, and I saw that the people are now having umbrellas, which they didn't have in Planet Coaster 1, which is such a cool detail. Generally, the guests and staff members are so detailed now. Like the mechanic, you have the staff system that I sadly don't know how to turn it off, where they are unhappy sometimes. And he was just dragging his suitcase with all the screws in it behind him, and everything fell out. I had little screws on the floor, and I was like, wow, they incorporated that little detail? That's insane. Um, it is very detailed, this game. It's pretty nice, and yeah, the whole charm of the game is so nailed. It's just like in Planet Coaster 1, where that already was the case, where you just had the guests, and the guests just looked. They didn't look realistic, and they still don't look realistic, but they look charming, and it's better to make something charming than landing in the uncanny valley, right? And also the clouds. Like, it's so interesting to see our park in a different weather, but I told you about this last time. But still, you know, have those clouds and it raining sometimes. I'm not sure if it snows. I don't think that it snows. We don't even have a snow biome, now that I think about it. But who used that? Like, in Planet Coaster 1, only people that built a Christmas event thing were even using that biome. So from that perspective on, I'm not too sad if it's not in there. But yeah, you can still see I'm failing this. Generally, we will build a different building in this episode as well, which is also kind of a fail. So at this point in time, I wasn't really, I don't know, oiled up for buildings. I don't know what to tell you. It just looked horrible. Yeah, but the building in the next episode certainly won't look horrible. And one tip that I can give you already, if you're struggling with buildings too, is take reference material. Look at the real building in real life and try to, not a one-to-one copy it. Maybe you want to one-to-one copy it. Okay, do it, but try to give your own spin on it. But now that you have a real image to compare to, it still looks way more realistic than if you just wing it. Yeah, so that's definitely one tip. Because, we're not architects, so we maybe forget a certain style. So yeah, do that. By the way, you can see now that the improvised queue line, which it's not great. It's not great. It has to be replaced. It's just one of those back and forth. I mean, everybody in real life hates those back and forth queue lines, right? I mean, they're just the lazy way. If the park just has to get as many people in a queue, they use that, and I don't know. I like it themed more. My queues previously used to be like half of the charm of the ride, and I like real life theme parks where this is also the case. Like in good example for that, where there's a bit of story, is like Gardaland, a Raptor, where you're going through a dinosaur cage, and then you're at the laboratory, and the coaster is the dinosaur, kinda like this. Or don't know if you know Wodan at Europa Park, but there you have like a cool mine shaft you walk through, which is great. Or Fly at Phantasialand, which is also nice. Not as nice as some other queue lines at Phantasialand, but still nice. And yeah, here we're building a shop. I thought, maybe people want to drink and eat something. And yeah, one of the problems was I wasn't really familiar with the walls we have now, because those walls always, they make a round edge, which is a bit weird, but also interesting, maybe useful for something. But I was like, oh no, will every wall do that? It won't. But still, it irritated me, and I didn't have reference material for this one. So it turned out pretty uninspired and boring. And bad looking, to be honest. So I will replace that at some point, but just that it's documented. You can see the progress made in the theme park later on. We can laugh about this in 10 years when the park is still not done. It will probably be like this, Like the park previously, I was working 4 years on it. It's still not done. So yeah, it's like a a railway. You're always building on it. It's never done. You always find some place where you can improve something. And yeah, Planet Coaster is just like that model railway, but digital. And I think it's the modern version of a model railway. Just with this. Actually, I had a park once where I just built a railway up a mountain, and then I had an alpine coaster go down that mountain. And yeah, it was just alpine theming. So I just built a huge alpine mountain, which I just knew from being in alpine mountains a lot. And an alpine coaster, I don't know which coaster type we could choose for that, but it would be cool to have on a mountain. It's certainly cool in real life to have that. Yeah, you know, but except if you have one of those assholes in front of you that are always braking the entire time. It's like, Jesus Christ, you can accelerate at least a little bit. You don't have to brake the whole way. Or those guys that filmed the whole ride. Yeah, it's a trauma, you can notice. Yeah, and here you can see me struggling with building the medieval theme. Because there are a lot of wooden parts that are specifically Viking themed, which is cool when you build a Viking village, but since I'm not building a Viking village, it's a bit annoying. But yeah, it's just how it is, I guess. I would have liked more neutral themed elements. There is no Planet Coaster theme this time. Like last time there was just a neutral Planet Coaster theme, which was great for building entrance areas. That's not there anymore. I wish we had something like this, or something like the Studios pack that really added some neutral elements for just building an entrance or a backstage area, which I will say up front I won't do in this park. You will not see me do backstage areas. That's not my thing. I like theming, and yeah, I don't know, backstage areas, not really. I don't really find it interesting to build a backstage area, to be honest. Like, yeah, sure it's realistic, but yeah, I just find it boring. So none of that stuff, but a whole lot of theming. And yeah, I haven't made up my mind yet which theming areas I will have in the park. Maybe you have an idea what I should put in. Yeah, some ideas I had. Oh, by the way, here is the POV of the roller coaster. Caught me by surprise a little bit. Yeah, that's what we have now. And while the coaster POV is still going on, I will say thank you for watching and have a great day. We will see us next time when we start the building. Goodbye.